guys, my name is Colton Steiner. Welcome to the first episode of CSBR, where I talk about the Cleveland Browns game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it was an interesting one, to say the least. A really good game for the most part, but let's just jump into it. So unfortunately, it did not turn out the way we wanted it to, as the Browns would fall to the Steelers 21-18, but there are a lot of things to look at. First off, let's look at the stats. Let's look at DeShone Kizer, who went 20 of 30 for 222 yards with an interception and a touchdown, and a rushing touchdown. Now, that is a pretty good stat line for his very first start in the NFL. Along with that, we have Corey Coleman, who had 5 catches for 53 yards with a receiving touchdown. That was something you didn't see much last year due to injury, but it was great to see that this year. Finally, hopefully this turned things around for him, and hopefully he can get a good career going. On the defensive side of the ball, we had Joe Schobert leading the Browns with tackles, where he had 5 assisted tackles and 4 solo tackles. So that was something I'd like to see, because with the injury to Tank Carter in the preseason, he's going to have to fill that spot this year, and so far he's done that. In the preseason, we saw a lot of positive things from him in that position, so it's looking like he's going to be a really good fill-in. Now, some concepts I want to talk about. First off, little mistakes. Right off the get-go, the Cleveland Browns had a blocked punt that was returned for a touchdown, and that was a game changer. You take that away, there are just a lot of scenarios that wouldn't happen if that punt wasn't a touchdown and was just regular punt, because the way the Cleveland Browns defense showed up in that first half, they were unstoppable. They did not have a single first down in that first quarter. And that was incredible for me, because the offense wasn't moving that well down the field, and so the defense was playing a great ball game. But you take that punt away, the Browns actually might have a chance to start ahead. Another big game changer for me was the 40-yard pass interference call. Something for me about pass interference, I admire the call, I respect the call, but I hate how they can heave the ball downfield and kind of just hope for a pass interference half the time. Sometimes there is pass interference, but there are times where you just throw it down and hope for a pass interference call. And that was a 40-yard penalty. And sometimes it's even more. So that's a pass interference call. I understand why they have it where it's spot of the foul, but it's a tough call. Either way, they're not going to change it. I don't see them changing it anytime soon, where they do just 15 yards from the spot of the ball. But if they have an idea of changing it, go ahead. You let me know in the comments. A big player that was obviously going to be huge in this game is Antonio Brown. He showed up huge for the Steelers and was the reason they won the game, in my opinion. 11 receptions for 182 yards. 50 of which came off a tipped ball by Joe Schobert, and Antonio Brown caught it and ran to the 50-yard line, because they were inside the 10-yard line of the Browns, and of their own 10-yard line. I'm sorry, but that was a bit, that shifted the score. They ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive, and in secondary, that was another thing that the Browns need to improve on next week. I know you're facing a top 3, if not the top receiver in the NFL, but still you have to show up and not allow big plays like that to happen, especially like what we saw in the final 2 minutes, where we ended up challenging whether it was a catch, which it probably was a catch. I think it was a catch, but yeah, the challenge was questionable in my opinion. Another thing needs to improve is amount of times our quarterback gets sacked. Right now, we are on pace to allow 116 sacks. That is way too many. Way too many for me. I mean, obviously it's not going to be like that. You're not going to have 7 sacks a game like what we did today, but that is on the quarterback, but also on our offensive line, which in the offseason I thought we improved our offensive line, but as we saw, it could have gotten a little better. Our offensive line could have played a little better than what it did today. Red zone defense, specifically secondary, there was no answer. They got inside the 10, and it was going to be a touchdown. I guarantee it. That's something we need to improve on as a defense, not to allow them to get into the red zone, but when they do, we need to convert and not let them score. I mean, it's something you look at as a defense where you need to improve. Secondary and in the red zone are areas where I thought we could have improved after watching this game. Rush defense was something I was very pleased about, especially without Myles Garrett on the field. We allowed only 35 rushing yards, which is great. I'd love to see that. And when we get Myles Garrett back, it's going to be even better. So that's something to look at. Now let's talk about DeShone Kizer. I was skeptical coming in. I didn't know how he'd play, and he kind of kept me at being skeptical after watching him. He has a good amount of pros, but a good lot of cons, so let's talk about those. Some pros I thought he had after watching this game. He has a lot of potential. A lot of times he hit their receivers in strides, but there were some times where his receivers dropped the ball. That's on the receivers. His receivers have to make those catches. Another thing I like about him, he's mobile. He scored or had a rushing touchdown today, but when he's mobile, quarterbacks are fragile. And if we want him to be the guy, he needs to slide more, especially in those scenarios where he wants to get a few extra yards. Just don't risk it, man. Just take the yards you have then and slide. Now let's talk about some cons. Obviously, he has a lot to learn. He's young. He's the youngest player in the NFL. The first thing I think a lot of Cleveland fans can agree on is he needs to let go of the football sooner. He sits there in that pocket way too long, and the defense will get to him. That's partially why we had 7 sacks today. I say 3 or 4 sacks are on him. That's just me. Maybe a couple other times it's on the offensive line, give or take. But I think he needs to let go of that football and maybe scramble out of the pocket, throw it out of bounds, not get a grounding penalty, but that's something I think he has to improve on as a quarterback in this league, is throwing the ball away, scrambling out of the pocket, or just not staying in the pocket, because that pocket's gonna crumble sometimes, and you gotta just make quicker decisions. His interception was just a bad decision-making play on him, and it was just a bad pass. I mean, he had a lot of time on that play to make a decision, and for what the pass was, it was a terrible pass. And when I look at the play, I didn't even think he had an open receiver. So that's one where I wouldn't be afraid of him to go and scramble and get a few yards and then slide. But there, I just didn't like that pass. He had tons of time and ended up throwing an interception. That can't happen. There's a lot of things to look at. He faced a very tough and talented team for his first start, and I thought he played pretty well. We only lost by 3 points, and we're in the game in the final 5 minutes, so that's something to look at. The Browns had 237 total yards, which we need to improve our running game. That can be adjustable, and we allowed only 290 yards for the Steelers. So I like that. I mean, our defense showed where they are, and when we get Myles Garrett back, it's going to be a good season. So this game could go either way. The Browns had chances to win, but they failed to convert. But hey, that's going to happen. In this league, we're the youngest team in the NFL. We have to start making those plays, and we can't make the little mistakes like the block punt or the pass interference. Those are what changed the game. So thank you guys for watching. The Cleveland Browns play the Baltimore Ravens next Sunday at 1 p.m. on CBS. Thank you. If you like this video, leave a like. If you want to see more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go Browns. Hopefully next week's different, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.